I'm Alex Labbe, driving the Can-Am Ford Fusion number 32 in the NASCAR Penny Series. Come sign up on iRacing at Alex Labbe Season of Champions on the Next Level Racing Super Series. It's a fully broadcast series, fully sponsored too, and there's good opportunities for talented drivers to get sponsorship in it. So the league starts in August. Come and have fun with us.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome for tonight's Alex Labbe Season of Champion qualifying races. We are live tonight for our first race, which will take place at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. My name is Eric Rodrapo, and I'll be your host for the night as we take a look at what our drivers will have to tackle for tonight. It is the road course of Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, which is a 13 corner, 2.5 mile road course based in the city of Montreal. And it is one of very tricky track for the stock cars, as you do have some very hard braking, some very very heavy compromises have to be made to that setup in terms of cornering versus top speed, as you do have two very long straightaways, one coming off the casino hairpin, the straightaway, and the front straightaway. So weather for tonight will be a 83 Fahrenheit. Track temperature stands at 108. Humidity is at 60%, and our forecast is partly cloudy, which will lead us to some exciting racing coming up. As we join up on our server, let's see our top 5 for the moment. Bruno Gagnon has the first place with a 139.77. Practice session leader for the moment. Martin Blackburn holds second place, almost a second behind him. Spencer Preeth in a 27 machine has the third time. Maxime Richet in the 6th car holds third. And Richard Labbe rounds up our top 5 for the moment. So 30 laps of racing coming up tonight at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Having this 50% fuel restriction will also force our drivers to think about pit strategy. It'll be interesting to see how many pit stops these drivers go for. This fuel window is very tight for one pit stop, so very likely most of our drivers will go for 2. But it'll be interesting to see if anyone sees gain to making a third pit stop, either to add some tires or to make more adjustments to the vehicle. As we round up our practice session, we'll try to make a look and show you what it is to drive a lap around Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. As we tag along here. With the number 7 of Yves Palan, who's going to show us the right line around Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. So coming up to the first corners, the S's, you do have to take a compromise line into corner number 1, so that way you get a better drive off the second corner leading up to our first chicane, which is slightly downhill, so very slippery corner exit. The end of our first sector has a very tight right-hander, as we just saw, which leads into our second chicane. Again, very difficult track on braking, and re-acceleration can also be a problem. With the heavy stock cars, the weight transition between the front and the rear tires will make re-acceleration difficult. Our third chicane coming up right here, very hard on the curves right here. Very clean corner exit as we lead towards the slowest corner of the track, which is the hairpin. Very sharp right-hander. Very important to get as much re-acceleration as possible because we're leading up to the longest straightaway of the racetrack, which is the Casino Straight. Named after the Casino of Montreal, which you saw a glimpse on your right. Hard braking coming up to our final chicane, which will lead up to our front straightaway. Lap times around Circuit Gilles Villeneuve's range about around 140, and the B cars. As we'll take a look on our practice leader. Which is the 153 of Bruno Gagnon. Currently holding first place with a 139.7 with a minute to go in practice. These drivers will join a 10-minute qualifying session, which will determine our starting grid for a race tonight. As Daniel Demers in the 16 car has taken the second place time with a 140.5, Labbe just recorded the second place time with a 139.78. Our top 5 seems to be racing in basically a range of a second lap, but the rest of our field has yet to catch up to the pace of the leaders. It'll be interesting to see in a 30-lap race how stretched up the field's going to become, and if we do see lap cars getting involved by the end of the race. As Circuit Gilles Villeneuve is known to be a very tight racetrack, it will be interesting to see how the drivers handle their track position, not only with the pit strategy, but also as they try to race themselves, because we do know the main challenge of a roller coaster and a stock car is racing the track, but we also have to overtake your opponents, which in Circuit Gilles Villeneuve you do have some overtaking opportunities, but they come up to very tight corners. For example, that turn number 1, if you go side by side through the first S's, it is difficult to complete an overtake, as you do have to concede the inside of the second part of a corner to the other driver, and therefore it also makes a more difficult corner exit as you're side by side coming off the corner. So very technical racetrack tonight. It'll be very interesting to see how our drivers work it up, as some of our drivers are coming out for their practice session. That's the 03 of Kevin Hash. Claude Ferlin, a 43 car, already out on the racetrack for his qualifying run. So does the 82 of Callum McNichol. Spencer Preeden, the 27th car, also on the racetrack. He's shown us very interesting results in our past races. It'll be interesting to see how he does on the road course tonight. Two newcomers to our qualifying races tonight. There's car number 3 of Richard Labbe and the 16 of Daniel Demers, also out on the racetrack preparing their qualifying laps. Claude Ferlin, also a newcomer to our qualifying races. In a 43 car, he's going to lead us up to the casino straight, making his way to the final chicane and starting his first qualifying lap. One very known name from our qualifying races is our double winner of last week, Manix Richer in the 6 car. He's going to try to make some noise again this week. As it is a different dynamic in road courses, it'll be interesting to see how these drivers that shine on the oval can also prove themselves on the road courses. Another driver that shined in our races last week at Pocono, Callum McNichol in the 82 car, also may almost make it to the checkered flag on the fuel run, but ran short on the very last lap. As we do see, he does have difficulties on the braking, heavy lockup, and at first S's. This is once again a very difficult track to set up the vehicle, as you do want as much downforce as possible for those corners. And that means you want weight on the front tires, but the more weight you put on the front tires, the more favorable of lockup. And the more favorable lockup, the more difficult it makes to brake the vehicle for those corners. And also the more downforce you apply, and that means the less speed you'll get on the front straightaways. So a very difficult racetrack to set up the vehicle for, as Callum makes his way around the Concordesses. our own Martin Daviau in the 81 car also out on the racetrack for his qualifying run. As we do see our first lap time coming up from Claude Ferlin, a 1:43.5. We're just to see how he does on his second lap. Very out of shape, out of the Senna S's. Good driving by him to keep it together. Some light lock up in the first chicane. As we do see Spencer Preeth in the 27 car registering a 1:40.6. That's going to be our fastest lap for the moment in qualifying. As Daniel Demers just writes that down with a 1:39.7. Interestingly enough, it'd be surprising to see if most of these drivers had time to set a qualifying setup for this track, as it is very long and tedious to set up a qualifying setup for a road course. So most of these drivers are most likely running their racing setup with a little extra tape. But then again, it'll be interesting to see if some of these drivers took the gamble to go for one faster qualifying lap, or if they just use their race setup and put up a pace lap just to get a decent position on the grid, and then they'll work their way to the front of the field as the race goes on. So other noticeable lap times: Yves Paulin in the 7 car with a 1:41.6. We have Manix Richer with a 1:40.8. And Martin Blackbird in a 555 car with a 1:40.5. Few of our drivers are yet to take to the track for their qualifying laps. We'll let you see if and when they do, as this is only a 10-minute qualifying run. Having a road course on hand means that 10 minutes has to be spent wisely if you want to make it round, and make sure you do both of your qualifying laps. Currently putting down his lap time is the 58 of Josh Churchill. Coming down to the final chicane very cleanly, no lockup, barely any. As he heads towards the start-finish line. And puts down a 1:46.9. Other notable driver from our previous week is David Anderson in the 44 car. Has joined the racetrack for his qualifying laps. Also out on the track is the 29 of Robert Fitzpatrick. He will complete his run with a 1:49.4. Very spreaded field here tonight. Will be interesting to see as the race goes on. This may lead to some lapped car situations, which will make our racing very interesting, as the pit strategy will come into play. You'll see our field shuffled up. You'll see lapped cars coming in the way of our leaders, and Gilles Villeneuve is not an easy track to concede position at. It'll be a very interesting sight to see in his strategy and how it'll pan out. You don't want to be stuck in traffic. You really want that clean air in front of you. You really want just to log laps, make your pace going. You don't want traffic to be stuck out there. You don't want that to happen as a driver, and therefore that portion of the strategy, if if I think I'll be stuck in traffic, do I pit a lap later? Do I pick a lap earlier and get that clean air so I can get a couple of those laps just a little bit faster, and then I can gain on my competitors? Although most of the pit strategy will depend on tires and fuel, that aspect of a road course also makes it tricky to decide whether or not you go into the pit lane and take service. So as the last of our drivers are on track, we do see the 94 of Philip Allen logging up his qualifying times. A few of our drivers have elected to start from the back as the 94 couldn't handle the last chicane and just spun on corner entry. That will reset his lap time and probably force him to start further down the back. That'll be interesting for him to see if he's able to work up on the field. As most of our drivers seems to have issue with tire lockup and these heavy braking corners. As I mentioned, these stock cars are very difficult to brake. They're not GT3 cars, they're not prototypes, they don't have the higher technology, they don't have the ceramic brakes or ABS or any kind of those systems that help the driver slow the car down. They're just very heavy vehicles that need to be catered to be braked properly and to slow down into corner entry, so that way you have the proper speed at the apex, and also you cannot go hard on the throttle coming off the corner, as that weight distribution from the front to the back is taking its time. You have to let the car transition, let the weight get off the nose and then slowly go back on the throttle. So we'll take a look at our starting grid for tonight, as they will start on a rolling start for tonight's race. So our pole sitter, the 16 of Daniel Demers, he will have the 3 of Richard Hebert next to him starting on the first row. On the second row, we have the 555 of Martin Blackburn. As most of the drivers are gridding up on the back straightaway. Next to him, the 27 of Spencer Preeth. The 6 of Manix Richer will start on the inside of the third row. Next to him, the 153 of Bruno Gagnon. The 7 of Yves Belland will take the inside of our fourth row. Next to him, the 44 of David Anderson. The 43 of Claude Ferland will take 9th place on the grid. As the 97 machine of Travis Brown will round up our top 10. The 88 of Steve Rosser will take 11th. As the 03 of Kevin Hash will round up our 6th row. The 82 of Callum McNichol will start at the inside of the 7th row. Next to him, the 58 of Josh Sturgill. The 29 of Robert Fitzpatrick. Next to him, the 94 of Philip Allen. Rounding up the back of our field for the moment is the 21 of Gene Collum. And behind him, closing up our grid. Next to him, sorry, closing up our grid, is 71 of Sylvain Gauthier. As our drivers are making their way around
Green, green, green.
racetrack as we go green flag racing in Montreal. Daniel Demers will lead them to the first corner. As we do see some side-by-side action back in the field. Very cleanly unfortunately some contact as the 97 made contact with a 70 Poulon, which collected the 88 of Steve Rosser. Some contact back in the field. As our tar pipe is driving away from that incident, that will create a slightly big gap between our leaders and the rest of our field, and also that puts some drivers down with some damage to be worked with throughout the rest of the run. It'll be interesting to see if these drivers decide to head down pit road to fix some of that damage. As for the moment, 16 of Daniel Demers has conserved his race lead. Behind him, the 3 of Richard Hebert. Our top 5 is rounded up by the 27 of Spencer Preet, the 555 of Martin Blackburn, and the 153 of Bruno Gagnon as they head down the Casino straight leading up to the final chicane. Some very little lockup, but most of these drivers make it through. So as the 6 of Manic Trichet in 6th place. And we're following the 44 of David Anderson, chasing him down in 7th. Claude Ferland has secured himself in 8th place, gaining position on that restart. Yves Poulon, after that contact, seems to be working his way out on the field. Only has some right rear damage, but the 97 following him sees that's a little bit heavier of a damage as his tail wiggle at the exit of the center corners. The 88 also got involved in the turn 1 incident. Seems to be riding along pretty fairly. The 94 Philip Allen trying to make his way out the field, already 12th after starting 16th. Callum McNichols stood his ground and kept the 13th position from that start, as Martin Daviau also is trying to work his way through the field, gain 5 position from his starting point. Van Gautier in the 71, also a big gainer so far, started 23rd up to 15th place. Back to our leader, we do see the 16 of Daniel Demers is gaining himself a 2-second lead over the 3 of Richard Hebert. Most of our field is pretty spread out for the moment, as we do see the 88 of Steve Rosser having difficulties with his vehicle, probably due to his damage occurred in the first corner. You will concede this position to the 94 Philip Allen, and most likely to the 81 of Martin Daviau as well. Here's another important aspect: as you're stuck in traffic at the exit of that hairpin, a draft can also be a little problematic coming down to that straightaway, as we do see the 82 of Callum McNichols tried to make a peek at the inside coming up in the chicane, but didn't have quite enough of a run. But he will take the position away from the 88 coming up in turn number 1. As we do see a battle for 4th place going on between the 27 of Spencer Preet and the 153 of Bruno Gagnon, taking up to the inside, leading up to the first chicane. The 153 will cleanly take 4th place away from the 27 car. As it does appear, we did have some slight connection issue with our server. We're back live here from Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. So Daniel Demers, after starting first, is holding his lead and built himself a 3-second gap over the 2nd place of Richard Hebert. Still a long way to go. 28 laps. It's a long way, as we do see the 555 of Martin Blackburn locking up a little bit, but the 153 of Bruno Gagnon got loose in the corner exit. He will take the 3rd place away from him. It'll be very interesting to see if the 555 has a drive for him, as it does appear these two drivers all now not battling with it, and the 555 will take a peek to the inside, but will not make the move on the final chicane. A very tedious corner to try and overtake very early in this race, as the 27 of Spencer Preet has some lockup, but keeps it together very nicely from him. He will have to concede his position to the 6 car of Manix Cachet most likely, but a very nice save from the 27 car after taking too much curb. And then last chicane, the 27 does have some heavy lockup coming up in turn number 1. And that lockup is very dangerous. You do have to manage your tires in that race. That's one of the main challenges. If you go down the pit road twice during the race, well, you'd rather have some fresh tires to work with and stretch out those runs than having to make a third pit stop because of the burned up tires. But as we do see, most of our drivers are struggling with tire lockup. That's going to flat spot the front tires and make it very difficult for the car to grip in the corners. And therefore, that tire saving strategy will take a very important spot in the pit strategy. You may see some of our drivers just coming down for fuel and tires instead we might have some other drivers coming up and just take a full load of fuel and come back with no tires. As you see another driver that had some heavy lockup in the airpin, and the 555 once again got loose at corner exit, but so did the 27, and Manix Cachet will finally take 5th place away from him. So another aspect that we talked about earlier, the reacceleration of those vehicles as the 27 takes a heavy hit on the wall coming up to the casino straight. That'll leave some very heavy damage to the right front of his machine, and he does lose control again on the chicane. That's going to be a cut course penalty. He will have to serve and slow down to surrender the time gained. It's a very difficult run so far for the 27 Spencer Preet. Not only having to deal with some right front damage, but having to cope with some very heavy lockup. Do expect 27 to reduce his brake bias as he comes down the pit road, not only to fix that damage, but to take some adjustments to his setup. So a very clean ride for most of our drivers. 7 of Yves Poulin after that initial contact in turn number 1 has managed himself to stick around in 8th place, driving away from the 43 of Cole Ferland, which is followed by the 94 of Philippe Allen and the 81 of Martin Davio. We do see our top 5, Daniel Demers, Richard Hébert, Bruno Gagnon, Martin Blackburn, and Manix Cachet, all drivers, all local drivers that are used and they know this track very well. They've raced on it numerous occasions, and that's a very huge advantage that's showing. It'll be interesting to see if the other drivers have something for them as they'll come down to pit strategy. As we do see the 153 of Bruno Gagnon is slowly catching up to our top 2. Now only 2.5 seconds behind him, but the 555 of Martin Blackburn in the meantime has dropped down and is being chased by the 6 of Manix Cachet on our front straightaway. Already we can see from our race leaders, their lap times have dropped approximately 2 seconds slower than their qualifying laps. So it'll be interesting to see in the upcoming laps how does the tire wear affects the racing, and also as the vehicle gets lower and lower on fuel, it gets also lighter. So that also affects how you have to adapt your driving. As the 3 of Richard Hébert is not giving up the chase of his teammate in Tory Racing, the 16 of Daniel Demers. These 2 drivers will take down Casino straight and head to the final chicane. As we do see the 153 of Bruno Gagnon trying to make up that ground and catch up to those leaders, but he doesn't have the draft that the 3 car has. on those long straightaways, so he has to make up in the slower corners. Do see in the meantime the 555 with Martin Blackburn also having to deal with the 6 of Max Clichet right over his back bumper. Very nice clean drive by these two down the S's. Another driver that's having a good drive is the 44 of David Anderson, sticking around in 6th place, having pretty decent pace. Also trying to drive away from the 7 of Yves Ballon. It'll be interesting to see when Yves hits pit road, if he takes a little bit of time to fix that right rear damage to gain a precious little second on his lap time, or if he opts not to take time in pit road to fix the damage and just go out on the racetrack. It'll be a very interesting aspect to see indeed, as Claude Ferland is riding along in 9th place, some lockup coming up to the chicane. It does appear that Spencer Preet has gone down to pit road. In the meantime, that dropped him to 10th place. Josh Churchill in the 58 car, also trying to deal with some left rear damage. He's currently under attack by the 03 of Kevin Hash. He's going to try to take him down to the outside, and will through the second chicane, as we do unfortunately have some slight connection issues going up, and we're back live. As the 16 of Daniel Demers is still holding our race lead, approximately 2 seconds ahead of the 3 car of Richard Hebert, which has been caught up a little bit by the 153 of Bruno Gagnon in 3rd place. It'll be very interesting to see these two drivers competing before their first pit stops, as we are 23 laps away from the checkered flag, which is almost a third of the way in. So we might start seeing some pit strategy coming into play. Further down, approximately 10 seconds behind him, is the 555 of Martin Blackburn, which has been dealing with the 6 of Manix Clichet for the last 3 or 4 laps. He's sticking up right behind him and not giving him any chance to drive away. These two drivers are having to deal with worse and worse conditions as their runs goes on, as we do see the 21 of Gene Collum down on the grass. 21 was in 18th place, a lap down. As we're riding along with the 7 of Yves Ballon down the back straightaway. As he makes his way cleanly through the final chicane, no lockup. Very stable, very clean drive from the 7 car here. As we do see the 153 of Bruno Gagnon has taken 2nd place away from Richard Hebert in the 3 car. Very interesting to see one of 153 making a drive to the front of the field. As approximately 3 seconds and a half behind our race leader, Daniel Demers, who has drove off the racetrack and will lose precious time to the 2nd place driver. So first mistake by the 16 car, driving through the Concord chicane, as he has to deal with the 08 of Sylvain Joly, a lap down car. He will give way to our race leaders, as Richard Hebert is not done with the 2nd place battle. He will try to catch up to 153 of Bruno Gagnon, as they're dealing with lap traffic. As we mentioned earlier, lap traffic can be problematic on such a tight racetrack. if you're stuck behind a lap car and battling with someone, that can be the opportunity that driver has to make it through. So do you see the 153? We're going very aggressive on the curbs down the final chicane. He is running approximately a second faster than our race leader Daniel Demers. Although 16 did had an issue in the Concours chicane as the 153 was almost sideways coming off the Santa S's. The 153 and the 555 of Martin Blackburn are currently the only drivers running in 143s. Most of our other drivers are running 144s, which is once again 3 to 4 seconds slower lap than the qualifying times, and that's only 9 laps into our race. Therefore, it'll be very interesting to see. So far, it seems that most of these drivers are stretching out their runs and they're gonna go for 2 pit stops, and maybe even 1. As we do see in the meantime, the 94 Philip Allen has taken 9th place away. Sorry, 8th place away from Claude Ferlin, the 483 car. Claude Ferlin holding to his 9th starting place. As you see, the 555 of Martin Blackburn finally started to shake away the 6 of Manix Richer, but he will head down pit road. That's going to be our first of our leader heading down pit road with 21 laps to go. So the 555 of Martin Blackburn probably going for a 2 pit stop strategy, as we do see some other drivers have also dropped down on pit road. That's our race leader, the 16 of Manix Richer, and 3 of Richard Robert, so they will take service down our pit road. That surrenders the race lead for 1 and 2 Manix Richer, who stuck out on the racetrack for probably another lap before coming down the pit road as well. So does the 44 of David Anderson and the 7 of Yves Poulin. So Daniel Demers driving out on the racetrack down to 3rd place. Bruno Gagnon has come back on the racetrack in 5th. But he's stuck behind the 7 of Yves Poulin. He'll have to work his way around him. 555 of Martin Blackburn also rejoined the racetrack. So did the 3 of Richard Robert. So Richard Robert conceded the place to the 555 of Martin Blackburn at pit stop. Spencer Preet in the 27 hasn't made his pit stop yet, driving along in 9th place. So let's have to take a look. Other drivers that are going to come down the pit road. Indeed, Richard Robert had a 29.5 pit time. That's twice as much as the other drivers, so it'll be interesting to see. Maybe he opted to repair some damage, or he had something to adjust. As Spencer Preet is sideways coming out of the Concours chicane, he will smack the wall and stick on it as his 27 cars goes flying. That's probably going to mean the end for our 27 driver. Very unfortunate event, as he lost control of his vehicle coming out the Concours chicane. As we do see the 44 of David Anderson coming down pit road, and Manix Richer is still sticking out on the racetrack, so we might see the 6 car of Manix Richer trying to go for a different strategy here, as he is 16 seconds away from the 16 car of Daniel Demers, which is our previous race leader. So very interesting strategy going on so far, as Manix Richer is trying to stretch his first run, maybe trying to make it on 1 pit stop. It'll be interesting to see, as the 153 of Bruno Gagnon is trying to catch up to the 16 of Daniel Demers, approximately 6 seconds behind him. As we do see, those pit stops have stretched up our field a lot. The 555 of Martin Blackburn is approximately 9 seconds behind 3rd place. The 5 of Philip Allen is yet to have to take it to pit road, as the 3 of Richard Hebert is right behind him. 44 of David Anderson has taken service. He's down to 7th place. Behind him, approximately 12 seconds, is the 7 of Yves Poulin, who has only taken 13.6 seconds of pit time, so he did not repair that damage. He only took service for tires and fuel, so that means that damage is probably mostly aesthetics. Poulin, in the meantime, has conserved his 9th place through his pit stop, as the 81 of Martin Avio is yet to make his pit stop. Still caught up to 10th place. Following him is the 11 of Callum McNichol and the 82 machine. As the rest of our field, the 03 of Kevin Hash, 58 of Josh Sturgill, 29 of Robert Fitzpatrick. All 3 of these have made their pit stop, and both cars being lapped down are Sylvain Gauthier in the 71. He's coming out of pit road, and the 08 of Sylvain Joly. So a very clean drive so far from our race leader, the 16 of Daniel Demers. He has got himself off a 6-second gap over 2nd place, as he's led all but 2 of our laps in this race. The other 2 laps being led by Max Cachet in the pit stop cycle. Sorry about that. One battle that's closing up is a 2nd gap between the 94 of Philip Allen and the 43 of Claude Ferland, as the 08 of Sylvain Joly makes a good work to avoid coming back on the racetrack in front of these 2 drivers being on the lead lap. Again, very difficult racetrack. This is an endurance type of race for these guys, as they're used to driving on the ovals. They'll be on the road course. Makes it a lot more difficult. To be consistent and to be clean all across the racetrack, as we might have a battle brewing up for 8th place between the 94 of Philip Allen and the 43 of Claude Ferland. As they're coming down the final chicane, lots of curve for the 94 car, but he keeps it clean. That's going to give him a very good drive off the front straightaway. Another battle that's brewing up. The 6 car of Manis Richer is being slowly caught up by the 3 car of Richard Hebert, who drove most of this race in 2nd place. He had to concede 3 positions from that pit stop, which was twice as long as his competitors. So very interesting to see if the 3 car has something to give to the 6, as they might battle it out for 4th place here. In the meantime, the 153 of Bruno Gagnon and the 555 of Martin Blackburn are driving along, respectively logging laps. We do see that the 16 of Daniel Demers is stuck slightly in traffic, but he still did record almost as fast as Labbe with a 140.9. He is driving at a stellar pace so far and has a very clean drive in that first half of the race. But as we mentioned it, that's the first half of the race. We still have 16 laps to go here at Saint-Gilles Villeneuve. As we'll take a moment here to thank our sponsors that made this broadcast possible. We're talking about VAP Depot, Install.ca, CFM Motorsports and Design, Madline Creation, McNichol's Transmission and Performance, Pagnan Americas, and Sounds Via Victoriaville. as we did talk about it, we do see that the 3 of Richard Hebert has taken 4th place away from the 6 of Manix Richer. Probably a mistake by the 6 car, as the 3 has made himself almost a 2-second gap over the 6 vehicle. Doesn't appear that the 6 car has damage, so probably lost control of his vehicle coming up into a corner. As these drivers are riding along, another driver has been having pretty clean drive as the 44 David Anderson, stuck around in 6th place for most of this race, and he's still riding along, probably hoping for a top 5 finish if one of the lead drivers makes a mistake. Yves Poulin and 7 car also had an overall good drive after making it through that first corner incident. He's riding along in 7th place, and behind him is the 94 Philip Allen. Also clean drive for him. Not many noticeable mistakes, and he's riding along in 8th place after starting 15th. The 43 of Claude Ferland also riding along, as most of our drivers now. Last car in our top 10 is the 03 of Kevin Hash, which is now lapped down to our race leader, 16 of Daniel Demers. And the 16 has made himself a 10-second gap over the second place, the 153 of Bruno Gagnon, as he had to work through traffic. So the 81 of Martin Daviau dropped a few positions for that pit stop. He's now down to 11th, followed by the 82 of Callum McNichol and 12th. As the 153 Bruno Gagnon had some severe lockup again in the hairpin. That's going to make things very difficult for him if he tries to catch the 16 of Daniel Demers. But we do have to remember that most of these drivers still have a cycle of pit stop to go through. And once again, it's very easy to go too hard on that pit stop and bust the speed limit, or to just make a mistake coming down your box. So this race is not over yet. Still is a contest for most of these drivers, as Charabert has drove away from the 6 of Manix Richer. Approximately 3 seconds lead over the 6 car. That's for 5th place. Another noticeable has been riding along pretty much on his own is the 555 of Martin Blackburn. Sends that pit stop. He is though currently being caught up a little bit by the 3 car of Richard Hebert, who's drove a very fast 140.4. That's his fast lap, but he's 2 seconds faster with a 141.8 than the 555 of Martin Blackburn, who has a 141.1. That would be 1.3 seconds, my mistake. But we do see our race leader is also driving in these times, a 141.0 for Daniel Demers, but Bruno Gagnon had probably a mistake in his last lap, has a 145.1, and that dropped it down to 12 seconds to our race leader. As we can see, the 153 probably had to deal with lap car traffic. 81 of Martin Daviau West put the lap down, but he did take 10th place away from Kevin Hash, as Callum McNichol is also going to try to take that position away from the 03 machine. These guys are all being allowed on, and we do see the 03 driving through and headed down the pit road. That's going to be his second pit stop. So second cycle of pit stop is most likely to begin for the moment. As it does appear that Daniel Demers has fell down a little bit on his lap time with a 144.1, as Bruno Gagnon has a 143.3. So not over yet for the 16 car. He's not driving away with it, but still has a very comfortable 10-second lead over second place to work with. And the 153 also has a 10-second gap over third place of the 555 of Martin Blackburn. But Richard Robert in the 3 car is posting some severely fast lap times. A 141.8 is approximately 2 to 3 seconds faster than his competitors. But Max Richer is also posting some very interesting lap times with a 141.9. Once again, these drivers barely had to deal with lap car traffic for the moment, so it'll be interesting to see as the pit stop cycle comes out if one of the leaders can get stuck in traffic, as we do here. Vehicle that's collected the wall. As we do see the 555 of Martin Blackburn got sideways coming out of the corner. That gives a huge break to the 3 of Richard Robert, who's going to have a shot at the position. And not far behind him is the 6 of Max Richer. So huge, big of a mistake by the 555. That's going to give an opportunity to this 3 car to get back onto him and challenge him for third place. As I said, this is not a sprint race. This is a mental endurance. You have to be consistent at every single lap, and those kind of mistakes, that just shows that the 555 maybe had too much on his tires in the beginning of the run. As you see, the 3 had some slight lockup coming off the S's, but he's working his way around the 555 and challenging him really hard for that third place. 555 has a 3 call over his bumper. He must feel intimidated. So the battle for third place has resumed, as we do see a car parked right next to the wall right here. So our race leader driving down the back straightaway. As we do see the 9 of Claude, which is the last car on the lead lap. It's very far away from our race leader, so he's pretty safe for the moment. 94 Philip Allen had a very solid drive. Just sticking around to 8th place. Trying to catch up to the 7 of Yves Ballon, 7th place. Himself trying to catch up to 44 of David Anderson, which is almost 13 seconds ahead of him. The 6 of Max Richer is creeping up in 5th place, rounding up our top 5. But the real battle so far is between the 3 and the 555, Richard Robert and Martin Blackburn. They're going at it real hard here in the front straightaway with 11 laps to go. But we're also coming up on the fuel window. That's going to be our second pit stop cycle. And that'll be very interesting to see how this shuffles our field again. We do remember the 3 car had some issues in the first pit stop. He's going to hope for his competitors to have some issues as well if he wants to catch up. But currently he's not thinking pit stop. He's thinking third place. And that's when he wants to have, as the 555 is stuck behind lap car traffic. That might give an opportunity to the 3 car, as he does give him a little push coming out the chicane. That gave the 555 a break, and he drove away a little bit. There's going to be some work to do for the 3 car, as we do see the effect of lap traffic. As we do see contact between the 82 and the 81 of Martin Davio and Callum McNichol. We'll have a look at that, what happened there. As the 81 was riding his line, the 82 just dove him on the inside, trying to give way to our race leader. So very tedious incident. That gave a lot of damage to the 81 car, and that also gave the position away to the 3 car. That's exactly what I was talking about earlier, that lap traffic coming into play, as the 3 car of Richard Robert is now driving away with third place. And as I say that, here he comes down the pit road. So did the 16 of Daniel Demers, our race leader, conceding first place when we went to the 153 of Bruno Gagnon. The 555 of Martin Blackburn also decided to go one extra lap on his fuel run. So did the 6 of Manix Richer, who decisively pitted a bit later than the other drivers, so it'll be interesting to see. As the 16 of Daniel Demers, our previous race leader, is coming out of the pit road in 3rd place, having to deal with a lot of traffic. He will take the chase to 555 of Martin Blackburn in 2nd place, yet to take his 2nd pit stop, and so does the 153 of Bruno Gagnon. Manix Richer is yet to make his 2nd pit stop, and he is behind our previous race leader, the 16 of Daniel Demers. Richard Labbe has came out of pit road in 6th place. A much suitable 14-second pit stop for him this time around. The 44 of David Anderson has made it up to 5th place. In the meantime, during this pit stop cycle, the 94 Philip Allen is taking service to his Mustang, and so will the 43 of Claude Ferline, 9th place. So the only drivers who are yet to take a pit stop is the 7 of Yves Poulin, the 44 of David Anderson, the 6 of Manix Richer, and both are current race leader, the 153 of Bruno Gagnon, who is taking his 153 Camry down the pit road, and the 555 of Martin Blackburn will also take his Mustang down the pit road for some service. So that will give back the race lead to the 16 car of Daniel Demers, who had a flawless run so far. He's led 18 of our 20 laps, and with 8 laps to go here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, he will try to secure himself his first win in these qualifying races here in the Alex Labbe Season of Champions, as he has himself a very secure gap over the 153 of Bruno Gagnon. That's approximately 16 seconds over the 2nd place car. Manix Richer has yet to make his pit stop. He will try to stretch out that 2nd run as much as he can, as much as he did in the 1st one as well. So riding in 4th place for the moment is the 44 of David Anderson, who seems to have some right front damage to his 44 machine. Probably took a piece of the wall there. He's yet to head down to pit road, but he's enjoying 4th place for the moment, as the 3 of Richard Labbe will resume the battle with the 555 of Martin Blackburn. That's for 5th place, 5th. Sorry, that's for 5th place for the moment. But these two are not done with it. They've had a go at it before the pit stop, and now they're back to it with some fresh tires and full fuel, ready to go all the way down to checkered flag. A noticeable and here comes down 6 of Manix Richer will go another extra lap on his 2nd run, trying to stretch that fuel mileage on that Ford EcoBoost Mustang. We've seen him do that in the past week qualifying races. Both of these races went down to fuel mileage, and that EcoBoost made it work. He made it down to the start-finish line on the fuel economy races. But unfortunately for him, that's going to be difficult, as he doesn't have an extra pit stop to make, and he's down 10 seconds to our race leader Daniel Demers, who's also riding an EcoBoost. But he's been having a very solid drive out in the race lead for almost the entirety of this race, as the battle for 5th place is still raging on. That's for 4th place actually right now, as they've gone around the 44 of David Anderson, who's gone down to pit road for his scheduled pit stop. So the only vehicle that has yet to take the pit lane for his 2nd pit stop, sorry about that, is the 6 of Manix Richer. He's trying to stretch out that 2nd run as much as he can, as the 153 Bruno Gagnon is riding pretty much alone for the moment in 3rd place. But the real battle is between the 555 of Martin Blackburn and the 3 of Richard Labbe. These two have been going at it, and they're not done with it. Pretty sure the 555 is going to have Nightmare Baldil Sr. later tonight. He's been seeing that 3 right off his bumper for the entirety of the last 10 laps. That's some severe intimidation going on right here. But the 555 has been having a solid run, keeping the 3 away and not allowing him to go by unless lap traffic get involved. As the 6 of Manix Clichet has taken down the pit road for a scheduled pit stop, he will be shuffled down back to 5th place for the moment as he concedes his position to the 555 of Martin Baber, the 3 of Richard Robert, and ultimately the 153 of Bruno Gagnon, who has secured 2nd place. He is 14.5 seconds behind our race leader with 7 laps to go. That means 2 seconds a lap. That's going to be a very difficult gap to pursue. So 153 of Bruno Gagnon probably going to secure himself a 2nd place. Another driver that has been riding along pretty cleanly is the 94 Philippe Allen, who has taken the 7th place away from Yves Ballon. So a very clean drive from the 94, starting way back in the field in 16th, and now making his way up to 7th. Yves Ballon, in the meantime, has dropped down to 8th place, probably suffering from the long-term effects of that lap 1 contact and the damage he ensued. But he's still having a clean drive in 8th place for the moment. Claude Ferland also having a clean drive down in 9th place. He did, although just got lapped by the 16 of Daniel Demers. So our 9th place driver put a lap down to the race leader. Only our top 8 now is on the lead lap. As the 2nd place car on being a lap down is the 81 of Martin Davio. He seems he will have to deal with the 58 of Josh Churchill, but you do see these vehicles have quite a bit of damage, but we do have some battle going on here between the 58 of Josh Churchill, the 03 of Kevin Walsh, and the 71 of Sylvain Gauthier. That's for 11th place. So a very interesting little pack going on here, as we do see the 03 of Kevin Walsh has some severe damage on the front of his vehicle. Both the left hand and right hand side are pretty banged up. As the 71 of Sylvain Gauthier seems to have a very clean race car. Started 23rd and up to 13th. As Callum McNichol has dropped down to 14th place after that contact with the 81 of Martin Davio. Most of these drivers are riding along. We do see that the 3 car of Richard Robert has taken the position away from the 555 of Martin Blackburn. Once again, the intimidation worked, and the 3 car has taken the position away, and he's now driving in 3rd place. He's going to have a hard time to catch up to their 2nd place driver, which is almost 17 seconds away from him. So he will have to try and defend his 3rd place as much as he can from the 555 of Martin Blackburn, who I do assume is not done with it. He's gonna have to he's gonna want to have another shot at it. As the 6 of Manix Clichet, after making a 2nd pit stop, has dropped down to 5th place. He is riding along with fresh tires. It'll be interesting to see if he's got something for the 555 car of Martin Blackburn. He has 11 seconds to catch in 5 laps. That's a huge gap. But if one of these 2 drivers, if the 3 and the 555 go battling again, that could give an opportunity to the 6 car to catch up to them. As we do see the 7 of Yves Ballon is stuck in lap traffic, stuck in the middle of that battle. It's ultimately a battle for 11th place that Sylvain Gauthier is currently winning. 03 of Kevin Hash had to concede that position. The E2 Callum McNichol gained one over the 58 of Josh Churchill. As I said earlier, the 7 of Yves Ballon is having to work through that lap traffic. Both is the first car being a lap down. He has a very comfortable lead over the 81 of Martin Davio, which is all He's all across the racetrack. As we do see the 555 out, Martin Blackburn is trying to resume the battle for third place. With 4 laps to go here. As I said earlier, these guys are not done with it. They still want, the 555 still wants a shot at it. But he's going to have to catch up almost a second to the 3 car of Richard Hébert with 3 laps to go. Bruno Gagnon is having a very solid drive in second place. Not having to worry about any pressure for a moment. He has almost a 20-second gap to the 3rd place. And our race leader, Daniel Demers, has got him by 13 seconds. So both of these drivers just logging laps at the moment. Keeping their pace, not making any mistakes. And out comes the 555 of Martin Blackburn all the way back to the rear bumper of the 3 car. You intimidate me, I intimidate you. That's what the 555 is saying at the moment. Very heated battle for 3rd place. As I said earlier, Montreal being what it is, our top 5 is purely Canadian. Daniel Demers, our race leader. Bruno Gagnon in 2nd place. Richard Hébert in 3rd. Martin Blackburn in 4th. And Max Richer rounding up our top 5. I do believe I'm going to have to do some French interviews coming up in 4 laps. Lots of translation going on. Although we do have to salute the 44 of David Anderson. A very solid drive for him in 6th place. Philip Allen also starting 16th up to 7th. Riding along. 7 and Yves Poulin is the lap car on the lead lap. As the 43 of Claude Ferland is about to be taken a lap down by the 2nd place car. Martin Davio is having to deal with the 71 of Sylvain Gauthier. That's for 10th place. So the 71 after starting 23rd is aiming for a top 10 finish with 3 laps to go here. Kevin Hash has been shuffled down to 12th, being attacked by the 50 of Josh Churchill. These guys are not done with it as well. The 82 of Callum McNichol also involved in the picture. Side by side they go in the chicane very cleanly here. As these 3 drivers are going to be battling it out for the 3 laps of this race. As the 3 car of Richard Hébert has driven a little bit away from the 555 of Martin Blackburn. That's a second of a gap. With 3 laps to go here. Very clean drive by these 2 drivers as they are battling it out. Although they're not giving anything away to each other, they're also not trying to ruin each other's race. They're keeping it very clean. And they're just logging laps, keeping their pace, and challenging each other once the occasion comes around. 6 of Manix Richer is 15 seconds behind these 2. He is riding along very safely with 30 seconds ahead of the 44 of David Anderson. Trying to have a look at the battles behind as Sylvain Gauthier has secured 10th place away from Martin Davio. So Sylvain Gauthier, after starting 23rd, is most likely securing himself a top 10 finish. A very solid drive from him in a very clean race car. That's a nice sight to see. As the 58 of Josh Sturgill also seemed to have drove away from the 82 of Callum McNichol. And the 03 of Kevin Hash was conceding another lap to our race leader Daniel Demers. There's no words to describe his race. It's flawless. No mistakes from him. A clean drive all over. And he's led 25 of our 28 laps, only conceding 1st place on the pit stop cycles. And all he has to do here is avoid trouble as he's working down the lap cars, putting these guys two laps down behind him. As he's working his way around the airpin, around the 82 of Callum McNichol. He will head down the back straightaway for the second to last time as they're as he's almost ready to get the white flag showed to him at the start finish line. Bruno Gagnon making his way off the airpin. He's made his way back 8, almost 9 seconds behind the leader, but that's not going to be enough, unfortunately. Richard Robert, in the meantime, seems to have made himself a little bit of a cushion, but there's still a lap to go here. The 555 might have an opportunity to take that podium away from the 3 car. So white flag given to the 16 car of Daniel Demers. That's 1 lap to go for the Ford EcoBoost 16 car, as he's going to try to make his way to the checkered flag here in our first qualifying race of the night in the Alex Labbe Season of Champions. So we've seen some little bit of contact behind, some lockup happening between the 58 and the 82, as the 03 has dropped down further down behind him, as the 81 of Martin Daviau seemed to have retook his position over the 71 of Sylvain Gauthier. So 71 had a clean car earlier, seemed to have some right front damage, probably took a piece of the wall there, and that unfortunately dropped him a position to the 81, as his top 10 finish just gone right here. Might have a shot at it, as he's going to get an extra lap, but we'll just see if he's able to catch up, as the battle for third place for now seems to be going in the favor of the 3 of Richard Hébert, who's driving away from the 555 of Martin Blackburn. But the story of this race, as he's coming down the back straightaway, is the 16 car of Daniel Demers. A flawless run throughout these 30 laps here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, as he takes the final chicane for the last time and heads down the back straightaway. Our race winner, the 16 of Daniel Demers, as he takes checkered flag here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Next to him, right behind him in second place, is the 153 of Bruno Gagnon, taking second place. And the battle for third is about to be concluded, as the 3 of Richard Hébert makes his way around the final chicane. A little bit too much curve, but he will secure the third place finish over the 555 of Martin Blackburn. Will secure fourth place. The 6 car of Manix Richer closing up. A top 5 finish after winning both of the races last week. Still a solid run for him, as the 44 of David Anderson in 6th place is working his way down the back straightaway. He will also try to finish a clean run in 6th place. Only has to deal with the final chicane as he makes his way around. Doesn't take to the wall of champions, and that's going to be a solid 6th place finish for the 44 of David Anderson. As the 94 Philip Allen is down the back straightaway, that's for his 7th place. And he will make it to the start finish line. Our last car on the lead lap is the 7 of Yves Pellant, and he will secure a 7th place finish, as we do see behind him for 10th place the 71 of Sylvain Gauthier, trying to take position away from Martin Daviau, but he will not succeed, as it will be an 11th place finish for the 71 car. As we'll round up here on the racetrack and move on to our race interviews. Trying to have a word with our race winner here. At the moment, it seems that the 16 car is not available, so we'll move on to our 2nd place finisher, the 153 of Bruno Gagnon. Bruno, c'est Eric dans le bout de Next Level TV, tu m'entends-tu? Oui, excellent. Écoute, très belle course de ta part, deuxième place. Comment ça a été pour la majorité de ta course? So Bruno mentioned us that he wished he had a strategy to challenge for first place, but his competitor in the 16 car, Daniel Demers, was too fast for him. But he mentioned he had a very good race, very clean race, and he made a shout out to the other drivers that also kept it clean and had great communication throughout the race as they made it through lap traffic. C'est super à entendre. Puis au niveau de l'ajustement de ton setup, comment ça a été? Est-ce que tu as été capable de faire des ajustements dans tes arrêts au puits ou tu as laissé la voiture comme qu'elle était au départ? So Bruno mentioned is that he basically didn't make many adjustments to his setup, kept it the way it was last night as he practiced, and basically had a setup that was a little bit too rough on the tires. Had to reflect whether or not he wanted to take tires or not in the last pit stop, trying to have a shot at first place, but he opted otherwise and took the tires and secured himself a second place finish. Cool, Bruno, ben super de belle course. On espère de te revoir peut-être pour la deuxième course de la soirée. So Bruno will not be taking place in our second race as he's not very comfortable with the oval practice he had, but he will make sure to come back later in the season. Écoute, merci beaucoup Bruno pour ton temps, puis passe une très belle soirée. So we'll try to have a talk here with our fourth place finisher. That's going to be the 555 of Martin Blackburn. Martin, Eric dans le bout, est-ce que tu me reçois? Écoute, Martin, super de belle course. Quatrième après une bataille interminable avec le 3. Parle-moi de ça. So Martin was telling us that he had a very good battle with the three car of Richard Hebert, a very nice driver from his saying, a drivers he appreciate racing against, and he wish he had a better shot at him for it, but he still make sure he had a good challenge. C'est sûr que tu as eu l'intimidateur derrière toi pendant une grosse partie de la course, mais au final, ton setup au début de la course, comment que ça a été? Est-ce que tu as apporté des ajustements? Comment que ça a été au fil de ta course? So Martin mentioned this that he didn't have a lot of time to practice on the setup. Not that he had the times to do more than little finishing touches on the setup. He went a little bit too hard on the first set of tires, so he had to slow down a little bit on the second one. Went a little bit smoother, but it helped him out secure that fourth place finish. Donc Martin, félicitations pour ta quatrième place. Est-ce qu'on va t'en revoir plus tard dans la soirée? So unfortunately, Martin will not be joining us for Talladega as he has family obligations, as his life of father implies. But it'll be very, very interesting to see if he's coming back later in the season. Écoute, merci beaucoup, Martin, puis on espère te revoir plus tard dans la saison. So we will round up our interviews with our top 5 finisher, Manix Trichet. Manix, Eric dans le bout, tu m'entends-tu? Écoute, tu t'es rendu un régulier des entrevues, on va se le dire. Une cinquième place encore ce soir. Décris-moi ta course, comment que ça a été? So Manix was saying that he's basically tried to salvage whatever he could on the race on the road course. It's not his favorite, but he's very happy with a fifth place finish here. Donc au final, pas eu beaucoup à faire d'ajustements au setup. Ça a été une course quand même stable. Je t'ai vu courir quand même tout le long. T'as pas eu à te préoccuper grand-chose. Tu as été un des pilotes qui a étiré le plus ses séquences au puits. Parle-moi de ça un petit peu, voir. So Mannix said that he went for a strategy of two runs of 24 20 well, sorry, 12 laps, and wanted to have a shorter run by the end of the race to make sure he had fresher tires to make a drive for the front. But unfortunately, that could not happen for him, and he only was able to secure a fifth place finish. Écoute, tout de même, très belle course de ta part, super clean, super propre. Comme tu dis, ça c'est pas ta force dans les routiers, mais tu as quand même démontré que tu es capable de tenir ton bout et d'aller chercher une belle cinquième place. On va t'en revoir plus tard à Talladega. So Malik said that he's very happy to have the top five so far. He's very eager to have the other drivers coming up in the regular season. He's not expecting himself to be as high in the standing, hoping for top tens, but pretty sure he's going to be able to hold his own. Écoute, Malik, je vais te laisser aller pour l'instant. Je te souhaite une bonne fin de soirée puis meilleure des chances pour la deuxième course de la soirée. So we will round up our interviews with our own Martin Davio. Martin, Eric dans le bout, tu m'entends-tu? Écoute, on va we'll finish the stream on that. What was your opinion on tonight's race? Oh, that's a funny one to hear about. But yeah, indeed, on the road course, you don't want that to happen. But very clean racing overall. Overall, that's what I've been noticing. Our French Canadian drivers showing us that they're dominant on the racetrack. They know Circuit Villeneuve is their home. Yeah, indeed, and we're looking forward for the second race of the night at Talladega.
Yeah, I can't wait. Actually, it's going to be tight back, close action, and probably a big crapshoot at the end. So with the big one, so we'll see.
All right, so I'll let you go, and we'll round up the stream for now. We'll be coming back later around 9:30 for our second race of the night.
Perfect. Can't wait to see you there.
All right, thanks, Martin.
Thanks a lot.
So there we are, final words for tonight's race. We'll be heading out and having a look at our broadcasting schedule for the upcoming week. Regular seasons for CFM Motorsports and Design Super Le Model Series starts on August 29th at Thompson Speedway, and Alex Labbe Season Champions debuts on August 31st at Atlanta. So on behalf of Next Level Racing TV, my name was Eric Lapo, and I'll see you guys very soon.